But yeah, it looks like we're getting ready to jump on into this, man.
Yes,
Final match?
let's go.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Oh my dear, I don't think my heart can take any more excitement. I'm full to the brim with everything we've seen tonight. It's just been like I said earlier, the edge of my seat is almost completely worn out.
Yeah.
I'm just excited that this was SGC. This is SGC. Yes. SGC. Let's go, baby. Coming through big time. And we got some interesting background comms, but yeah, coming on through in our maybe final round, tiebreaker round, coming through for these two teams. And this is it. This is definitely, both teams are going to be putting everything out on the table. Everything is on the line here. If Wetfish walks away here, they walk away with the belt and the championship title. If Kyrie Caitlin's team and the super team can come through and to secure a dub, they have a chance to maybe potentially play 5 more games and take one. Do they have the energy left?
We'll find I was going to say, at this point in the evening, that sounds almost as much as a punishment as a victory.
Yeah. Up to 10 hours worth of a tournament. I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's definitely something that should be discussed with SGC after this and see what we want to do. If it does turn out to be something that's going to go on for another hour, can the staff, can the players, can the casters all be there to make it happen? Or do we want to maybe potentially take it to another day? That will be a discussion that we'll have to have after this round. But that's not a discussion we have to have at all until we see who wins this match. And right now, it's looking pretty close, right?
Yeah. As you say, we don't need to make that decision until the end of this game, because it might not even matter. If Gecko's Wet Thigh can take this victory home, then they will have taken the whole tournament, and we won't even need a break because we can all just go to bed. But
exactly,
there is also the chance that Super Team come and pull out their absolute everything to be able to take it to one final set of 5 to see who really is the victor. And at the moment, as you say to me, we're still sitting on even pegging. There doesn't seem to be a lot of combat at these opening minutes for this round and for the last one. Actually, it's seems to have chilled out a bit there. I don't know whether they're just saving what energy they have left for the big fights to come. It seems as though, as I said in the last one, Gecko's Wet Thigh seem to thrive when they're at a deficit. So I think that perhaps they saved their energy for maybe post 5 minutes when they're 2 points down and they need to bring it back, when at that point, perhaps Super Team have already expended what little energy reserves they have left. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe they don't have, maybe they've got more energy left than I've ever imagined. The environment can do wonderful things for you in this. And I don't know about you guys, but hearing, commentating, just watching this stuff has been absolutely exhilarating. So to be part of it in the actual games themselves, I can't even begin to imagine how the atmosphere must be.
Yeah, and that's it. It's like the keeping on top of comms during this as well. You know, talking to your teammates constantly for this amount of time. It's, you know, it takes its toll. And these players, you might find that there's actually less comms coming out because A, the synergy's there, and B, it's just tiring. So there's less and less comms, more and more just 1 HP here, this here, a little bit less of the constant up-to-date comms that we may have been seeing in some of the earlier games. So we have to see how that works, whether that does any difference for the teams. But looking at going at 20 points in and it's still being even on both sides, hopefully we will start to see some fights soon, but it does just look like Valgab farming for now.
This is definitely a lot of exhaustion coming through from both players. I mean, both in the game and on the cam. I mean, we see, like you said, a very much kind of a lackadaisy type of like movement, and you don't see as much aggression. You don't see as much comms coming through. We take a look over at Wetfish. I saw him rubbing his arm there for a second. He's blinking his eyes a bit. These players have been playing for a long time and at a high level. There is a lot of that adrenaline that's been pumping out and keeping them excited and keeping them going. But, you know, you only have so much adrenaline before you're running low, and they've been pumping it out for hours and hours, still coming through and putting on a great show for us. And I would say that at this point, every player playing in the tournament is putting everything they have out on the table. Even if they're delicious Wetfish with this substantial lead in the winner bracket, or if they're Kyrie Caitlin's team, super team coming here and trying their best just to stay in the running to maybe take the dub. they're definitely, everybody is exhausted and they're putting everything out on the table, and it's really showing us some spell break that is intense and exciting, and they're really fighting out to the very end to see who's going to be able to take this dub. 27 there for a second. There was 1 point lead in favor of Super Team. As soon as they get it, Gecko's Wet Thigh answers back with an exile of their own, back to 29 and 29. And it's definitely going to come down to some big picks like that one right there coming through from Newbie. Comes out with a couple quick flicks of that Frostborn, going to be able to take out Delicious Wetfish. And that not only is an exile for that team, that is a big time where Delicious Wetfish's team, Gecko's Wet Thigh, doesn't have their tracking. They don't have their third person alive. They don't have their Conduit Lightning Gauntlet to help poke damage and clean up kills that are low. So that is one thing that I think that Gecko's Wet Thigh's team has really – I don't think we've talked about it at all. I wanted to talk about it a little bit earlier. I got sidetracked, but I think they're very, very much communicating on when the enemy team has less players on the field than they do. So if they saw a player recall, they're like, oh, there's only 2 players alive on the enemy team. Push in, get them low, because at that point, you can start to create stagger opportunities like we were talking about. You know that the enemy is in the shop right now. You know they have a few seconds before they can even come back into the fight. So if you can move in, capitalize on that, get at least 1 exile, then you keep your enemy team always at a player deficit.
Yes.
And that's super, super important. I think Gecko's team has really been able to do that throughout this tournament. And they haven't been talking about it as much, but I've been kind of picking up on a little bit. They definitely know when to be aggressive when that enemy player count's a little bit low. But right now, they're going to figure out how to make it happen. 38 to 39, still in favor of Super Team, and we might be looking at a comeback.
Maybe anything's possible at this point.
Yeah, that's it. Only 1 point between it, as you guys are saying, but. Again, I know we've said it over and over, but it's all we're seeing during these matches is just 1 point difference for the entire time. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to the end of the match, as we see. Again, we're looking about halfway through the timer right now. Delicious Wetfish using the movement as he does. Everything on cooldown at the moment, so he does have to be careful, although does have his 2 teammates quite close by, just on the off chance that the dodge is not quite enough to keep a player at arm's length. Do you see 2 of them pushing 1 at the moment, although Delicious Wetfish does lose half of his health, still deciding to push the fight on extremely low HP and does go down to the firewall.
That's a big lead starting to happen. Well, it was a bigger lead. There was a 3-point difference there for a second, back down to 2, but definitely feels like there were some sloppy decisions being made there. I definitely felt like exhaustion came into play, and that's definitely unfortunate. You want to see these players playing fully there. But sometimes that's what it calls from you in the tournament. And I think sometimes that's what makes or breaks the difference between a champion, being able to get into that position where you've been playing for 9-10 hours and still come through and compete and make things happen. Delicious Wetfish coming back through and doing a little bit of damage there with that lightning and does a great job of using that alacrity to carry that on, but some more damage coming through to put him on his toes, using that spring step to get up and out of the danger zone. And definitely important to talk about the spring step combination with Conduit. When you talk about Conduit, you don't really think mobility quite a bit. However, you haven't seen a really lack of mobility from Wetfish at all. And I think it's a big point to talk about that with the Conduit and the spring step combination. You have a rune that has the shortest cooldown, and you have a class that can give you multiple charges on that rune. So yes, while your class kit is not offering you that mobility, you can still get that mobility. You can maintain the mobility that you need to be competitive if you're smart. And that's just a beautiful thing about these competitions, about competitive spell break, and about Wetfish, to be honest, coming through and showing us that you can be creative and you can make it work in this kind of setting. And it's kind of fun to see it happen.
Ooh. Yeah, 100%. And every time someone makes a kill, there's another one just around the corner to come and bring that lead back down a little bit. We're at a 3-point lead at the moment for Super Team here. But again, you cannot bank on the fact that they will keep it, because as Gecko's Wet Thigh have shown over and over and over again, this is where they thrive. I would not be surprised if we end up seeing them take this lead back down to nothing by the end of this game.
That's it. Back down to 2 points again in it. All back down to 1 point in it. And it's even
There we go.
All in the space of 5 seconds. Absolutely incredible. This is exactly what we're talking about from this top level play. A team wipe from Delicious Wet Fish's team, and straight onto the spawn attack as well with a couple of lightning bolts. Crazy stuff. We're all evened out again, guys.
Even the score, coming through with a nice little squad wipe, creating a little bit of a stagger there. Even capitalizes on the stagger a little bit when that spawn comes through. Doesn't get to secure that kill though, but does put out some damage. And really, I saw the lead. I forgot that Wetfish was playing. I mean, that Gecko's Wet Thigh was one of the teams, and I was like, well, that's probably the end right there. But nope, literally as I say that, Sloth points out that this is the comeback king, I guess. We had the comeback queen in Kyrie Caitlin, but comeback king in Delicious Wetfish and Gecko's Wet Thigh, coming back from that 3-point deficit in less than 5 seconds, full squad wipe, and really doing their best job to make sure they capitalize on the opportunity they created for us. Back to 67 as Delicious Wetfish does get tagged with a big explosion, using that spring step to get a back from S key away from the damage. Does get kind of trapped in a little bit of a fire NATO, but is able to pump out some damage and still stay super mobile while using that firewall to keep himself a little bit safe from any kind of Frost Lance picks that might be coming through. Toxic slaps from behind. Frost Lance coming in as well, and Delicious Wetfish will go very low, down but not completely out yet. And it looks like Arctic will come through to take out Gecko from the squad, 71-70. But Wetfish gets out alive. Somehow gets out of there less than 15. Dude, he recalls the last second. That could have been really bad for Gecko's Wetfish or Wet Thigh if they would have a 2-kill deficit there. It would be much more difficult to come back at this point in the game. Still at the 1-point difference here, and they can still come back, but big brain play from Wetfish getting that recall off. Huge.
Wow. Oh, yeah, crazy stuff. Still see just that 1-point difference between the two teams now up on Super's team. So again, we see it brought back, although we do see the Delicious Wetfish here is really pushing for this exile. He wants to bring it back. He got that recall off. He's full HP. He's got the ability to push here. If he can confirm this exile, then again, it should bring them to an even level, but it doesn't matter. It's 2 points up to Kyrie's team by the looks of it there. It's just gone up by another point. It's all down to Delicious Wetfish now to try and bring that back up.
Back up to the 2-point difference now. Only 2.5 minutes left on the clock as we now are back up to a 1-point difference. These teams are playing with my heart right now. I'm going to have a heart attack. Somebody's going to have to hold me after this. 80-81, Delicious Wetfish pushing on in, and you can just see the fire in his heart, the instinct in his eye. He is thirsty. He wants to secure these exiles. Going in aggressive there and does get punished for it big time. Unfortunately, I can see that he wants these exiles. He wants to make it happen, and sometimes you're not supposed to make it happen. You're supposed to let it fall into place and just put yourself in the position to capitalize on it. And unfortunately, we see a lot of chasing going on, and I think that they really want this dub. They don't want to have to go back in and play 5 more games. You see him checking the score here, 1.5 minutes. There's 3-point deficit now, going back down, or no, 3 points deficit still here as we're getting closer and closer to that 0 second on the timer, and Super Team's looking very strong right now.
Yeah, of course, but we can't obviously count out the fact that there may have been some Valguard kills that we've missed in here that could quite easily turn the tide of battle, as we've seen for the last 3 games in a row now. So
as far as I can see from chat, there have been no Valguard exiles, but we will have to get that confirmed at the end of the game with 1 minute left.
Even with the Valguard exiles with a deficit of 3 points now, I don't think that they would have done enough. The Valguards could have done enough to be able to even level the playing field at this point. It looks as though we may well be ending up going into another 5 rounds.
It looks like that might be what's happening, but we'll see. We still got 45 seconds on the clock. Some big confrontations going on. Some big damage coming through. There, it looks like there might be a team versus team confrontation, and if Gecko's Wet Thigh comes out on top, that could be enough to at least even the score here. 30 seconds on the scoreboard. They have spotted another player that's low, pushing on in as hard as they can. Thunderthigh and Delicious Wet Fish pushing on in with some big focus on this player, using that spring step to try to get away from the incoming lightning damage. But it looks like they are going very low. Finally goes down as Arctic and Newbie both fall, and we are tied up, ladies and gentlemen. 95, 7 seconds on the board, 5 seconds ticking down, 96 to 96. It is anybody's game. Anybody that picks up an exile here will win it for their team, but nobody does.
Oh my God.
To the wire. Tiebreaker ends in a tie.
God.
What is happening? Oh my goodness. Tiebreaker. Back-to-back tiebreakers.
This is insane. This is absolutely insane.
I'm without words. I don't know. These players are just playing at the highest level. They want it so bad, and they're just not making mistakes. And if they make mistakes, they make up for them like almost instantly. And we talked about it so much, but just the tenacity of Gecko's Wet Thigh, just to be able to always stick it out and make it into the final last second, getting that exile, fighting down to literally the last 30 seconds. They never give up. They consistently stay focused. They come back from these huge deficits, even in the grand finals, and it just keeps happening. Wow.
Indeed it does. Astounded, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal displays there, and you couldn't write this stuff. You honestly couldn't write this stuff. To have got all this way for a best 3 out of 5, when I'm not going to lie to you guys, I didn't expect to see that go right to the 5. And now to end not only that 5th one in a tie, but the tiebreaker in a tie. And then we still, I don't even know how we proceed from here. Do we have another tiebreaker? Are we just going to go and play the next 5 rounds?
I'm going to suggest, if the staff members are listening, I'm going to suggest that we take a brief intermission and maybe as short as a 5-minute break, and we talk about this. I know a lot of the players, I know a lot of the staff members are extremely exhausted, and I can tell you right now that the casters up here, we're in it for the long haul. If the tournament's going on, we're going to be here casting and giving you the best show that we can be. However, we want to make sure that you guys are getting the best show that it can be. And that requires people to be in their top form. So like I said, I would like to get maybe a tiny little break, maybe just get some water and to talk to SGC staff members about what our decision's going to be. But an incredible showing from all of our teams so far. Gecko's Wet Thigh, super team coming through, fighting it out, really wanting that victory. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens, you guys.
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't even think I've got the words inside my brain anymore to describe what this is. I pointed that out. Like you've literally seen it tonight go from pitch black outside to now the sun is coming up and the birds are singing, and I'm going to be spending my entire day in bed, I think.
Yeah.
Well earned.
Something tells me work's not happening in 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, but I think that is so awesome, you guys. Thank you all so much. I mean, this is our very first tournament ever. SGC is very new, but I knew from the get-go when I saw the assortment of people that were coming together that we had something special here, and it's carried on to tonight. Players that are here for 9-10 hours, people that have gone from literally working at their job to driving home to remote desktop in so they can keep running the show for us. People that are literally watching the sun come up as they shoutcast the games. Like you guys are showing what is so special. Like in the beginning of this tournament, in the beginning of the stream, we talked a lot about the community and how special it is. And everybody can talk. Everybody can talk. But we're showing it right here, right now. Every person that's here, every person that's able to be here, pushing themselves, that loves the game, that's passionate about this community, you're proving us right. So thank you for doing what you do. And it won't go unnoticed. It won't go unrewarded. We are going to take that energy, like I said, and put it right back into the community with SGC. And thank you all for helping us make this first one a success for sure.
Yes,
but I think we're going to maybe get into a break. Maybe,
if I'm not mistaken.